do you know about Yemen? This has been going on for years. Why do you not know about Syria? Why do you not know about Iraq?
I do actually know a fair amount about all of these things. I just resent the idea of having a finger pointed at me that I am somehow being biased towards people with white skin rather than a different colour skin or a different culture. If I see suffering, John, I see suffering.
So here's what this is really about. It started as a row over one tweet from Gary Lineker, a comparison to language used in 1930s Germany. Simple, right? Except it isn't. Because underneath all that, there's a much bigger question. Does Britain actually care about suffering equally? Or do we just care more about certain people? Watch what happens when the guest pushes on this. He asks why we opened our arms to Ukrainian refugees, but not to people running from Syria, or Yemen, or Iraq. Is that about safety, or is it about who reminds us of ourselves? The host doesn't back down either. He defends his choices, rejects the idea that any of this makes him biased. What you're about to hear gets tense, it gets personal, and by the end, you'll be asking yourself the same question they are. Stick around.
Always a man of opinion. I've seen you on the box already today, John, and it's very, very nice to speak to you. How are you?
I'm very good. I've been watching you for the last 5-10 minutes because they couldn't get me on, so I was watching you with interest. I just want to talk about some of the things that I actually said. When we speak about 16% of people who weren't born here, that's because England morally colonized 65 countries hundreds of years ago.
Thank you for the context.
To help rebuild the country after World War II. So that 16% has got nothing to do with refugees. The 500,000 migrants have got nothing to do with refugees. We take less refugees than Germany, France, Italy. So, we can all come up with statistics to show that we are a very welcoming country. But in terms of the refugee situation, we're not particularly welcoming.
Yes. Well, no, I was trying to give an overall context to our society and whether or not we're a compassionate society or not. Are we?
I don't think we are necessarily. We are towards certain groups of people. We are towards Ukrainians, because in terms of the refugees and the ease in which Ukrainian refugees can come, and why a lot of people are coming over on boats, because there's no legal route for them to come. Now, if we are to create a more legal route for them to come from Afghanistan, who supported us, and from these other countries, we'd get less people coming over on boats.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So we want less people to come across on boats. Rishi Sunak has said that. Do you think he's politically posturing, John? Do you think he really wants to open up these routes, make it safer for people? Or do you think he's just playing a political card?
He wants less people to come over on boats, but I don't think he wants to open up a safe and legal route for them to come. So really, if we were to open up a safe and legal route for them to come, you would have people coming over legally.
Some people have legitimately held concerns about the amount of people coming to this country, notably those who have to live next door to people they don't know about. They see hotels that are full. They see public services being stretched, or at least that's their fear and it's their perception. How do you address the worries that those people have and the concerns?
Are we worried about Ukrainians coming over? There are many more Ukrainians coming over. We seem to accept them. And of course, that's going to be a strain on the economy. That's going to have many coming over. But so why do we accept Ukrainians coming over, but not other people from Syria and Iraq? I wonder.
Well, you tell me then. What do you wonder?
Why are so many? Well, I know why. Because there's certain people are considered to be more worthy than others. Be it men, women towards men, gay people towards straight people, black people towards white people, Ukrainians or Syrians. Why do we presume that Ukrainians are more worthy? Why do we use the language of rapists and murderers and criminals coming over from Syria and Iraq, but there are no rapists, murderers, or criminals coming from Ukraine?
Well, what do you say to people who've taken Ukrainians in from that war zone, let's say women and children? What do you say to those people? Do you think that the people who opened up their homes and houses to Ukrainian women and children are somehow showing a bias?
How many have they opened up their houses to Syrian women and children who are coming from war zones, or Iraqi women and children, or Afghan women and children? These are the victims. Forget about the political situation, whether they are the war zone with Russia and Ukraine as opposed to, the interfighting in Syria or Iraq. Why do we feel more empathy towards Ukrainian women and children than Syrian women and children?
But I just asked you what you would say to somebody that opened up their home to for instance, a Ukrainian woman and child, or man as well, in fact. Do you think that those people are in some way prejudiced? Is this what you're suggesting?
Well, if you ask them whether they would take a Syrian woman and child into their house, there's your answer. And how many of them would take a Syrian woman or child into their house? So it's fair. I think it's fairly obvious. Do you hear many people taking Syrian, Iraqi, Afghan women and children into their homes in the same numbers that are taking Iraqi women and children?
I've got a woman called Yulia and a daughter, a 14-year-old called Sophia, who we took into our home. They're from a place called Mariupol. And Max has just joined them, who is the father who has got out of Ukraine. He's now diabetic. They've left some family there, and some of them are still living underground in Mariupol. Are you suggesting in some way that I have shown prejudice or bias for taking those people into my home?
Have you ever considered taking a Syrian mother and child into your home, or Iraqi?
No, I didn't before, because I wasn't all I'm asking you is, are you telling me that I'm biased or prejudiced because I have taken them into my home? Are you suggesting that that's the case?
Not at all. You're showing empathy. But who do you show empathy to?
The Homes for Ukraine scheme was the Homes for Ukraine scheme, and the people that I spoke to here after the invasion of Ukraine, the people that I spoke to, they laid out a story that was easily understandable. The narrative was there in front, and I had a place that we could put them, and it was the right thing for me to do. Did I know about Syrians, Iraqis, no. Yemenis, Eritreans? Less so, but that doesn't make me. That doesn't mean that I should be negatively judged.
Not at all, Andrew. But why do you know more about Ukraine than about Yemen and Syria? Because as a society, we care more about it. So therefore, it's nothing to do with you. It's to do with the society and the culture we live in that will promote worthy people more than others. And who are the worthy people we promote? Why do you know about Yemen? This has been going on for years. Why do you not know about Syria? Why do you not know about Iraq?
I do actually know a fair amount about all of these things. I just resent the idea of having a finger pointed at me that I am somehow being biased towards people with white skin rather than that a different colour skin or a different culture. If I see suffering, John, I see suffering. I don't want to be judged on that. Thanks.
So what? 1 second. Why don't we see suffering in Iraq and Syria and Yemen?
We talk about these things a lot. Does that mean that we shouldn't talk about Ukraine?
Why don't we? So that is why, because you know what would happen, Andrew?
Yeah.
If you saw suffering in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, yes, and you did not see suffering in Ukraine, you would take in Syrians, Iraq, and Yemenis, and not Ukrainians. But why do you see suffering from Iraq from Ukraine, and not these other countries?
It was a very, very big news story, and I grant you that the way that the news story was presented and is presented is something that people relate to a lot easier in Ukraine than in other places. So I would have. It's a fascinating discussion, John, and I'm glad we got into it. We're supposed to be talking about Gary here, and you know we're
It's a similar situation because we are now talking about the unworthiness of these people coming over on boats, which is why we have no empathy for them.
Who is talking about the unworthiness of that? I mean, we talk about this all the time and about how it should be stopped, John.
1 second. It should be stopped, but we don't feel empathy with the ones who are coming over. What Gary said about the language used towards the people coming over on boats, rapists, criminals, murderers, is similar to the language used about the Jews in Germany in the 1930s, and it is similar to that. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute, and neither is Gary, that this is what that's going to be. But the language used is exactly the same because they were considered to be unworthy. Yeah. So therefore, no one cares about them. Yeah. So no one thinks like they go through and getting on a boat.
Right. Okay. The language around it is very important. I think everybody's established that. Now, should Gary, in his position with the BBC and having been there and built to this eminent position that he's in and extremely highly paid, should he be expressing those views now when it regards guidance around impartiality? I think I could probably imagine your answer.
Should he be expressing those views in Qatar politically? That the BBC encouraged and we accepted when he's criticising Qatar, but we can't criticise what goes on here.
I guess Tim Davies said that one is party politics and the other isn't. But that was I couldn't believe that they ran that piece on Qatar, knowing it was the BBC. Could you understand that?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Because you're looking away. I thought you were looking at me.
Sorry, mate. I've got you over there, and I've got the camera right here. No, I was going to say, were you surprised when you saw the piece that the BBC decided to run and then stay there and cover the entire World Cup?
No, it doesn't, because the BBC aren't impartial. But then we pick and choose when to be impartial. Now, I don't know Gary's contract as to whether, if you're a full-time employee, if you're a freelance, what you can and what you can't say. But for me, it's been open season on impartiality because the BBC pick and choose when they want to be impartial.
John, it's good to speak with you, and thanks for your patience and waiting around, and thanks for the robust nature of our exchange. I really appreciate it. It's good to speak with you. Take care. Very, very thought-provoking. I'll take it with me throughout the day.
Okay, let's be honest about what we just watched. This wasn't really about Gary Lineker. It was about who Britain chooses to see. The sharpest moment, for me, was that question. Why do we know so much about Ukraine and almost nothing about Yemen? It's simple, but most of us never actually ask it. And the answer we got was honest. Even if it was uncomfortable, the Ukraine story was just easier to tell. Easier to relate to. But here's the thing. Easier to tell doesn't mean more deserving of care. Then it got personal. The host talked about a real family. People he took into his own home. And look, that's not nothing. That took kindness. But the guest wasn't attacking that. He was pointing at something bigger. A pattern. Some victims get named, faces, sympathy. Others just become numbers, statistics on a boat. Then the conversation shifted onto the BBC, onto impartiality. Can a broadcaster call out human rights abuses in Qatar and then go quiet when the conversation turns to Britain? The guest clearly doesn't think so. Others will disagree. That's fair. There are no clean answers here. Refugee policy is messy. Media impartiality is messier. But if this debate proved anything, it's this. The words we choose about people fleeing danger, they shape how much we let ourselves care. And that's worth sitting with. Long after you've closed this video,